Welcome everyone to Spoiler Warning featuring myself, Tom Colohue. This is of course pro wrestling news in its entirety. We will be covering a lot of different ground here. Our top story is going to be as regards surprises and spoilers planned for the Royal Rumble, but we're also going to be diving into our review of Survivor Series, including a lot of information you're not going to find anywhere else as to what happened and how people and things have been received backstage. We're also going to be talking about Big E, who is on site for tonight's WWE Raw, so you can of course find Big E tonight. I suspect he might well be on TV. We're going to talk the Wrestling Observer's reporting on Jade Cargill. They have stood their ground, but they did add a little more as regards to what they've been told. We're going to talk Matt and Jeff Hardy and them giving up on the WWE a little. We're going to talk a slightly different use that Creative has planned for Dakota Kai. We're going to be talking WWE's continued supposed use of Vanessa Hudgens, as well as a reset planned for Gunther ahead of the Royal Rumble. So still quite a bit to go over. We are live once again on both platforms, YouTube and TikTok. What I've got at the moment is a whole host of something called flares. I don't know what they mean, I don't know what they do, but apparently they'll help people find you. So I might use them over the course of the show once I know how to do it. But I want to say a thank you to Jess and a thank you to Erin already for jumping in and joining in. Thank you very kindly. We have 45 people on the YouTube side as well, 22 likes. Be sure to hit that thumbs up if you can, because we are going to dive into this. So we're going to start with our top story, which is as regards the Royal Rumble. Welcome Ed, thank you for joining, and welcome Bradley as well. We are talking to a lot of people at the moment about the Royal Rumble and what we can expect. What's it going to look like? Who's going to be there? And there is quite a list of people who are expected to be turning up for the Royal Rumble who we don't necessarily expect and we haven't necessarily heard from. A few of the surprises that are apparently planned, who aren't there at the moment, but if you've been watching Spoiler Warning regularly, won't be a surprise to you. One of them, probably the top one, is Becky Lynch. The WWE are confident that Becky Lynch will be back shortly. The WWE have been in contact with Becky Lynch over the past few months in order to guarantee her place on the first Raw on Netflix. That's what they're trying to make happen, and that's what I expect to make happen as they build towards the Royal Rumble. Also ready and raring to go is Alexa Bliss. The WWE seem to be saving her for this event, though of course we will be waiting to see what happens with the Wyatt Six before we can guarantee what's going on with Alexa Bliss. That said, the Royal Rumble is always a great opportunity for things to return. Thank you for the heart, Jess. Thank you for the ice cream cone, Ed. That's Alexa Bliss, who has been ready for a while now. She's been ready to jump in, but the WWE simply haven't been using her. The main reason for this is that while she's ready, the WWE aren't. We are waiting for the moment at which the WWE are fully prepared to have Alexa Bliss step in with the characters in place as well. That's where the WWE finding difficulty, with the characters being in place and ready to jump in. Charlotte Flair is also said to be ready to go. She is ready to wrestle. She's just once again waiting for the right moment. The WWE pitched a number of different options to her. One of them for WrestleMania is Tiffany Stratton, so it'll be interesting to see what she goes for. Royal Rumble so far talking about Becky Lynch, Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair. I do want to touch on Carmella because there is certainly interest from the WWE in getting Carmella back into the ring. However, there are a number of complications. I won't go into too much detail. It's a very personal thing, I'm sure, for her. But there are a number of complications since her pregnancy, which the WWE want to ensure she's not at risk from. Some of them have been publicised already, some of them she's been open about, but Carmella is not believed to be ready to dive in just yet. The only other name on the female side, Asuka. We will be talking about Damage Control a little later. Asuka did have her surgery a number of months ago. She's ready, moving and training, but has not yet been cleared by WWE staff. She has not yet been cleared by WWE staff. There is still just under 2 months before the Royal Rumble. Asuka could well be cleared by then. Moving over to the men's side, The Rock is expected to be at the Royal Rumble. To my knowledge, The Rock is not expected to be in the Royal Rumble. That is a very clear distinction, which I do have to make. We're expecting The Rock to be at the Royal Rumble, involved in some capacity, but not in the Royal Rumble. It's a very big difference. So The Rock will be there, so I've been told, unless something major changes, but I would not expect him to be in the Royal Rumble. We also have Pentagon Jr. I can see his name coming up in the list. Pentagon Jr. is expected to be featuring at the Royal Rumble. Once again, I've not been able to confirm his involvement, but the WWE are confident that he'll be available to them in January to use as they wilt. I would expect him to get the AJ Styles treatment, popping up, popping in, let him begin, etc. The last one I want to touch on is one that hasn't popped up just yet. There are conversations ongoing as regards the possibility of Dustin Rhodes or Dustin Runnels being available for the WWE Royal Rumble, particularly potentially to turn up for the event and help Cody with Kevin Owens, not necessarily to be in the Royal Rumble, but he would potentially be available to do so. That certainly opens a lot of potential routes and is a very exciting option. So the Flair, whatever that is doing extremely well on the TikTok side at the moment. We've already gained more than 300 views, which is a pretty good spot to be in for a show that's been live for 6 minutes. Hopefully we'll find plenty of people will share it, and before you know it, we'll have plenty more followers for the next show on Friday as well. Thank you everyone who's joining on TikTok and everyone who's already given 1,000 likes. If you want to hit like, there's a little love heart, you just keep whacking that, and before you know it, this show becomes incredibly popular and has an incredibly high number of people. TikTok is run on engagement and activity, so it's done in bursts. If there is a large burst of likes, more people will find the live. If there is a large number of likes, that doesn't then activate it. So it is based on bursts. The more there are, at a very short space of time, the more they'll find. Thank you, Chris, for sharing the live. Also on the YouTube side, good old chat rate, already up to 10. A lot of people excited about the news I've been sharing there. Is there anyone else that you want to see in the Royal Rumble? Anyone else that you want to see in the Royal Rumble? Answer on a postcard or in the chat. Ed says, hey everyone. Hello, Ed. Jan Volker says, hello everybody. Welcome, Jan. Sid says, we surprised at some of the results of Survivor Series. I did expect LA Knight to lose the LA title and both the babyface to win the women's and men's Wargames match. My record, I think, was 3 out of 5, which I'm quite happy about. I did not expect Shinsuke Nakamura to win that championship. Not at all. Liam answered that one for you. Declan says, Merry Christmas, everyone. It is December, so there'll be lots of this. Merry Christmas, everyone. Sean says, hello, Tom. And also says hi to Ed. Joe Beard says, hi, all. Hit those likes. Welcome, Joe. Irish says, we're here early and watching that pig. Thank you, Irish. Mary says, do we see Wyatt 6 tonight? Likely yes, as they continue to build their program with Karrion Kross. Liam says, can we expect to see Roman versus Solo at Saturday night main event? I expect not. It would be a pretty big pivot from WWE, but based on fan interactions, I would say it's more likely than not. Thank you, Ed, for sharing as well on the TikTok side. Michael says, hi, Tom. Welcome, Michael. I know you prefer Twitch. We're having a few technical issues at the moment, so I'm trying to work those out. I do apologise for it. Welcome over to the YouTube side. I appreciate you coming over. Kai says, do you think any TNA wrestlers will be in the Royal Rumble? Well, I'm seeing a lot of TNA wrestlers being mentioned by you guys as being in the Royal Rumble. There's a couple that I do agree with there. Jordan Grace, for example, I definitely think will be. Joe Hendry I'd be interested to see as well. Chris says, looking forward to what they've got planned for Shinsuke Nakamura. Hopefully they get him back to... you put EID. I'm not sure what you're saying there. Chris, can you clarify? Sean says, is Joe Hendry a surprise for the Royal Rumble? David says, will we be seeing Drew versus Corey Graves when Drew returns to the WWE? No, I don't believe there's any intention of that. Unique Unicorn says, hello Tom, hope you're well. And you, thank you kindly for joining us, a Unique Unicorn. Wargames says, happy Monday, Tom. Now that he's officially done with AEW, got asked one last time about Penta going to WWE. Believe I've covered that. Declan says, have a great week, everyone. Thank you, Declan. Drive-by says, don't forget to hit the likes. Guys, we are up to 36 now, which is a good number at the moment. Please do keep them coming. Ray says, will Cody be in the Rumble? No, he is currently he is currently the undisputed, not universal champion. Ricky says, I like this new Shinsuke person and new theme. I'm glad he's getting a push. Cecil says, hi Tom, wouldn't you rather see Roman versus Punk instead of Roman versus Solo? I would. Punk has already got a date set with Seth Rollins, and that's the match I'd rather see. Mary says, could we get AJ Lee Punk's wife for the surprise for the Royal Rumble? Yes, if she wants to. Juan says, according to Brian Alvarez, he reported AEW took forever to downsize arenas because of the gear. Thoughts? And do you think it's possible to even fit a pyro set in a small arena? Yes, it is absolutely possible to fit a pyro set in a small arena. Wikipedia hopes Bronson Reed is okay. We'll have an update for you shortly. Leon says, hi Tom, hope you're doing well. I am very much doing well. Thank you, Leon. Thank you for joining as well. Hope you're doing good. Aled also asking about Joe Hendry. Hector says, glad The Rock isn't going to be in the Rumble, but the part that sucks is whoever wins the Rumble won't be able to challenge Cody, because I can see The Rock challenging Cody after a potential Rumble match. This is one of the reasons my personal pick is my personal pick. Jess says, Io versus Liv at Saturday night's main event. I would say so, yes. Io Sky's in a very good position right now to challenge Liv Morgan, and we can't have too much. After all, we've already got plenty of Liv versus Rhea. Sid says, will WWE sign Jordynne Grace in January? I don't know when her contract expires. Liam wants Goldberg in the Rumble. No, possibly. Sid says, how's your Blue Sky going? We'll have an update on that shortly. It's going well. Allied wants McIntyre in the Rumble. You will get your wish. Trekipedia says, everyone help out Tom, please. Like, share and subscribe. And Tom, you do great work as always. Thank you, Trekipedia. I appreciate that. Ricky Fawn suggests The Undertaker. No. Leon says, I'd like to see Tom Colohue in the Royal Rumble. The pop would be insane. Would it? Most people in this world do not know who I am. Unique Unicorn says, I'd like to see Roxanne Perez in the Rumble. Good shout. Sid, I don't really ask those questions. I have had to spend a lot of time and money on this house, so honestly, if it doesn't fall down, things are going well. Thank you everyone on TikTok getting us up to 2,500 likes in 12 minutes. That is a hell of a turn up. Jess suggests Brandy Rhodes is winning the Rumble. Obviously. Well, obviously. Balor Club Guys podcast says, hey Tom, after Survivor Series, I'm thinking Balor versus Damien at Saturday night's main event and Gunther versus Punk. I'm not quite thinking those, but more on that later. Calvin says, what's up Tom? What's up Calvin? Jargame says, Trick Williams or Obafemi for the men's Rumble. Julia for the women's would be great for more eyes on NXT. Obafemi would be a great shout. For Julia, I think you'd also have to put Stephanie Vaca in there. They can definitely fill a Rumble nowadays, I'll tell you that. Calvin said, did you hear Grayson Waller had a knee injury? I did not. Bam Bam says, what will be Saturday night's main event's card? There's only one match so far I believe has been announced. Calvin says, Nikki Bella just spoke on her divorce, and that is her business. Ray says, would you like to see Drew versus Wade Barrett? I'd be open to it, but not if it derails what's currently going on with Drew McIntyre. Sean, we will be discussing injuries to Jimmy and Bronson Reed shortly. Andrew says, I'm very intrigued to see what CM Punk's favour is, that when the time is right, he's going to ask Paul Heyman for it. I'd imagine this will be if Roman Reigns becomes a champion again. Blue says, hi Tom, is Solo Roman what Roman wants? Is this going to happen no matter what? There is no such thing as no matter what, but yes, it's what Roman wants. Calvin says, what did you think of Survivor Series? My review is incoming. That says, Tom, is Punk or Seth on Raw tonight? Do you know? Yes. Q43 says, how long do you think this Shinsuke title run will be? Not sure. The mid-card championships don't seem to last long anymore. They really don't. Joey says, hey Tom, who is some surprise you think we'll see for the Rumble? Zip back to the beginning, Joey. It is our very top story, and it kicks off immediately. Blue says, after Wargames, I feel like Rhea just needs to take the title off Liv and end the suffering. Mary says, if Kevin Owens going to go after Sammy like he has Cody, makes more sense to be more pissed at Sammy. The difficulty is different shows. Calvin says, Goldberg, Cena and Rock may all be in the men's Rumble match. You just never know. Some of us know. So he says, would you like to see Moose in the Rumble? No. Angel Lucio, welcome, says, Tom, Randy is not on every show anymore. He's on a part-time contract now. He's been on a part-time contract for years now. Years. Randy Orton's limited day contract is for about 200 days out of 365. Drekipedia says, could Roxanne make her way to the main roster to win the Women's IC Championship as an inaugural champ? No, it's too late now. Thank you, Joey. Joey says the stream is buffering a bit on his end. I've tried to pause things to make it a smoother transition. Can anyone else tell me whether or not they're experiencing any buffering on the YouTube side, please? Ricky says, is everyone from the bloodline okay? Or is there serious hurt? I will be covering that in a moment. Declan says, I'd like to see the Iconics. That would be fun. Liam says, do you think it would have been more sensible for Io Sky to pin Liv in Wargames since she's the number 1 contender? No. Bailey says, I'd like to see Lash Legend get a look at the Rumble. She's made some real progress at NXT. Alex says, the first 30 minutes of Raw is commercial free tonight and Punk kicks off the show. I think we'll see Seth during that opening. I think he may be talking about Roman, but I think he might get Seth. Chris says, would love to see Nick Nemeth appearance in the Rumble. You are unlikely to get that wish. The other Mike says, yo Tom, how's it going? What was the first piece of news? A number of surprises planned for the Royal Rumble. One says, bring Rosemary back for the Rumble just for Tom. I'd be down. Chris says, the first ever Women's United States Championship Finals is a Saturday night main event. The IC Championship is likely to be there too. Bam Bam, no, the TNA and WWE partnership is not over. Sean says, Cody versus Kevin and Liv versus Io, I do believe have been confirmed. Thank you for the clarification. Drive-By says, do you think we'll see Roman at the Saturday night main event? Probably not, no. Daz says, no buffering, it's okay here. Thank you, Daz. Andrew says, Hurricane Helms would be a great surprise. I mean, for funny vibes, I was shocked when he was in the 2018 and 2021 Rumble. Too recent for me, unless he does try and chokeslam The Rock again. No buffering for Bailey. Fine for Ricky. Stream is okay, says Wikipedia. Ed says, no buffering. Thank you, guys. Good news there. Sid also says YouTube is going perfect for me. It's nope, already covered that one. Sid says WWE content including all premium live events as well as Raw, SmackDown, NXT, streaming live in one place for the first time ever. If you already have a Netflix subscription, you're all set. I have, of course, already covered that in some detail. Blue says, does the 200 days include travel and other activities outside of wrestling? Yes, it does. Calvin says, do you see Deonna Purrazzo in WWE? I did, and then she went to AEW. I did not see that one coming. Genuinely didn't. Liam says, do you expect the Punk and Seth feud to kick in tonight? Yeah, pretty much. Hector says, with 2024 coming to a close, do you think we'll get any more official announcements or information on WWE Europe in 25? Yeah, all of them abandoned entirely. There's only really 2 options there. Sean, yes it was. Calvin is suggesting Hurricane for 2025 Hall of Fame. Erin is also all good for the stream. Alex says, Wade Barrett in the Rumble. I could see if they go the Wade Drew route, they could tease it in the Rumble. They definitely can. Steve says, just tuned in. Is it just me or did that long drawn out bit after the last Wargames imply a surprise that never came? They don't film that unless something happens. You remember how last year they made it long and drawn out and then CM Punk arrived? It was a tease at that. Trekkie PD says, I hope when January 1st rolls around, we had the older NXT episodes added to Netflix here in the States. Alan says, if I have a Netflix subscription already, do I have to pay more for the WWE content? Do you know? At this point, no. They have not announced any increase in price for the live sections. I expect there will be one soon. Andrew says, X-Pac would be a great surprise in the Rumble. And Joey says, do you know what the reaction was backstage to the Women's Wargames match? People thought it was underwhelming. I do have that, and I will be covering it in some detail shortly. So, I'm now going to continue the news. We are 18 minutes in, 77 people watching on YouTube, 42 likes. 3 more gets us to 45, which will keep that train rolling to about 80 people in. So please, if you can, remember to hit that thumbs up. On the TikTok side, 3,400 likes and continuing to go. I've had a couple of follows and I very much appreciate it. And in the daily ranking, we are a little bit on fire. So thank you everyone for making that happen. Also, apparently there's a team thing. You can join the team. We've got 3 people in the team. I don't know how it works. I don't know how to do it. But you can do it apparently. And if you want to do that, you are more than welcome to do so. I don't know if anything costs money. But I'm not going to ask anyone for money, just to be clear. Anyone who's hit like, anyone who's left gifts, I very much appreciate it. Next up, at the moment, I've been told very clearly that the Royal Rumble will not feature Brock Lesnar. I just want to be very clear on that because I know eventually people will ask the question, but I've heard very clearly Brock Lesnar will not be in the Royal Rumble. The betting favourites at the moment to win the Royal Rumble are Rhea Ripley on the women's side, so that she can get to the match with with Liv Morgan once again, and John Cena on the men's side, primarily because of rumours that Gunther will face John Cena at WrestleMania. I've mentioned before that's not what I personally see, but I do know that we're getting this rumour pretty hot and heavy right now. So hey, that's as sure as any other way to put over an absolute monster. Those are the favourites right now, Rhea Ripley and John Cena. CM Punk and Roman Reigns are both expected to be in the Royal Rumble, but there are concerns at the moment that the Royal Rumble will end up being bloodline heavy, particularly when you factor in a third of the Royal Rumble could potentially have been in the Wargames match last night. They've got to be careful of that. This has led to a pitch of the Usos versus the GOD, Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa, earlier in the night during the Royal Rumble event as a way to keep them out of it. Roman Reigns and CM Punk are both expected to be in the Royal Rumble. In addition to that, and talking about the potential to be too many bodies, the Wyatt Six are likely to be represented at the Royal Rumble, which will be the first PLE on which they feature. However, once again, WWE are concerned about the amount of bodies required to make that happen. They could limit it to Uncle Howdy, or once again, as has happened so many times now, they could talk themselves out of featuring them at all. Just to be clear there. 83 people on YouTube, 44 likes, one more to 45. Please do consider being the one. Right. I'll catch up with the rest of the chat and then I'll get to my next piece of news, which is as regards Survivor Series. Alyssa says some think Kevin Owens... Alyssa says some think Kevin Owen win. Belt Saturday main event to Cody Rhodes keep belt. Don't see Kevin Owen win belt. Blue says localized NXTs probably don't make sense anymore with partnerships with other companies and overseas PLEs. Also, Netflix would not have the rights to them. Sid says people said the women's War Games was rubbish. Some people did, some people didn't. I think it says very much, unfortunately, who you're following and who is loudest. Who is loudest being the key feature there. Sean says, do you know if Eric Bischoff and X-Pac were suggestions for CW to appear on NXT this week? No, they were suggestions from Shawn Michaels. Mary says, do you see Roman winning the title back at any point? I don't really think I want that again. 3 years was plenty. I do eventually, but not for long. Trekipedia says, the Tiffany cash-in teasers are getting annoying. I get what they're doing, but either have a cash-in or don't. When she stops teasing, that'll be the giveaway of what's to come. That'll be the big giveaway. Welcome, Lauren. Liam says, who would you like to see the Wyatts feud with after the Final Testament? Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre seems the perfect choice. Daz has just followed you on TikTok. Thank you, Daz. Appreciate that. We are trying to sort of expand here, and that's one of the reasons we're not monetized on YouTube, of course. So, yeah, we're trying to expand, and going on to TikTok is another way to do that. Sean says, I hope we get Cena versus Orton at WrestleMania. Joey says, do you think Malachi could show up, or does the deal expire at a different date? I don't believe he could. However, I can't guarantee that. I've not had a definitive answer. Trekipedia says, only thing that stuck out to me about women's War Games was the Nia chair shots. Was she hurt or just trying to pull her shots? She was trying to hit someone in the back because you can't hit them in the head. Naomi ducked instead of doing what she should have done, which is show her back. You will know a moment later, Bayley showed her back and got hit in the back. When someone's approaching you in WWE with a chair like that, you show them your back. In no way was it Nia Jax's fault that other wrestlers did not show for her the way they should have done. Liam says, yes, the Wyatts at the Royal Rumble. Blue says, one reason I could see Gunther Cena is I don't expect Triple H wanting Gunther losing titles at back-to-back Manias. Fair. Sid says, would you like to see Roman and CM Punk as a tag team? No. Mary says, Kevin should not win unless Cody gets it back in a rematch before Mania. Ricky says, has the Wyatt Six been a disappointment to you, Tom, so far? No, I don't think the WWE are fully behind them, but I do think there's a lot of working out still to do to make them fit. No, not really, Declan. If anything, they'll succeed further. Alex says, do you think Randy Orton will return at some point to help Cody? Yeah. So he says, who do you think has done a better job in NXT, Triple H or Shawn Michaels? Triple H. Because the current generation of main roster stars are Triple H stars. KJ says, hey Tom, welcome KJ. Can we cry about LA Knight losing the US title? And cry as much as you want, mate. This is a safe space. Sean says, do you know why Kyrie was left out of Wargames? Because they only needed one more person. Any else guy was already there. Trickipedia says, I said it at work because people are like, did she botch? I was like, I think she was trying to hit Naomi's back. She was. Calvin says, a lot of people are expecting an appearance from Rock or Brock Lesnar Saturday night. I honestly wasn't. Well, to be fair, Calvin, you do watch Spoiler Warning, and I did make it pretty clear. I did not expect The Rock, and Brock Lesnar was never going to be there. Bailey says, Tiffany Stratton got a really good pop when she entered Wargames, even as a heel. I think Charlotte could really put her over in a match at Mania. That is one of the pitches that has been made. Blue says, my money is still on Charlotte winning the title off Nia, only for Tiff to cash in right after, which to be fair still gets us to Charlotte versus Tiffany. I expect, however, Tiffany to get the championship from Nia and then beat Charlotte at WrestleMania, probably because Nia, and then losing it back to Nia. I know it's awkward, but that's what I see. Scorpio says, yes, the Wyatt versus Drew would be fire. Liam says, Shinsuke winning was a shock. Hopefully he gets a good solid reign after the years of burial he's had. Alex suggests Kevin is getting RKO'd at Saturday night main event, and that does seem likely. Joey says, was Shinsuke winning always a plan, or was it changed last minute? I do not have any information on that, beyond what I'll be able to share about Survivor Series. Ricky, we will be discussing Jade Cargill shortly. And Sean says, since Tiffany's getting cheered, why have her as a heel? Because she'll get cheered as a heel, she'll get booed as a face. They need her to be popular enough when they turn her that people don't turn back. Daniel Bryan, for example, got booed as a face, cheered as a heel, booed as a face, cheered as a face. Worked for him. Calvin says, LA Knight lost the US title way too quickly. Match only went for 3 or 4 minutes. Match went more than 10 minutes. It says, do you think it's true or a storyline that Tony Storm retires? It's a storyline. Liam, I don't have cherry coke. I continue to drink my Fanta. Jess says, I was wondering about the LA Shinsuke thing too. LA seemed annoyed coming to the ring and he dropped the title on the way. He did. He didn't seem happy, did he? Did seem a bit last minute. Alex says, I think Tiffany needs to cash in fairly soon. I agree with that. I think around Royal Rumble time will be the one. Blue says, I'm all for some more title movement. Both men's world titles feel cemented into place. Let the other titles move. And Declan says, I still think Becky Lynch could win the Rumble. And certainly that is always a possibility because I do think WrestleMania will be Liv Morgan versus Rhea Ripley versus Becky Lynch. And I know that's an unpopular thought, but that's what I see. We have 93 people on the YouTube side right now. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to retweet the announcement tweet. It's not a tweet. Repost the announcement post from Blue Sky just to see what we can make happen there. Next up, let's talk Survivor Series because I've got some news to share and hopefully you guys enjoy it. So, Nia Jax is said to have been upset with her own performance after the match. Personally, I'm confused as to why. Yes, there were some clunky early moments, but it was as much Bayley's fault and as much Naomi's fault as it was Nia Jax's fault. I don't see Nia Jax being the issue here, but what I will say is that social media really doesn't like Nia Jax, and I feel like they were just waiting for another opportunity to all pile on. As regards the women's war games, WWE were happy. Yes, there were some early moments, but overall the spots landed, the people were happy, and there was This Is Awesome chance. So overall, while Nia Jax did go backstage and voice her concerns with her own performance, which I think shows some serious humility, there is no possibility of her being punished or corrected. Rhea Ripley has been working hurt at the moment. We are, of course, moving to Liv versus Io Sky, which will give Rhea some time to rest before the Royal Rumble. Rhea Ripley versus Liv Morgan does seem set for WrestleMania, and that was a clear suggestion that this is still the plan, though Becky Lynch is expected to be back by that time. Nakamura's win was a pleasant surprise. I did not see that one coming. Not at all. The character relaunch is said to have been a reward for his good work with Cody Rhodes, and even though he lost that feud, he did make an impact and people were overall very happy with the work that he put in. WWE is also said to believe that LA Knight's character works best chasing and playing underdog. They felt that the United States Championship division needed a refresh, which is why Nakamura's in, which is why Andrade and Carmelo Hayes are in. They are confident that LA Knight will find his way once again, but they felt that the cheers simply weren't there when he was the champion. They were confident they will return once he's no longer the champion, hence we are where we are. A double coronation is coming, a second coronation I should say, for LA Knight. The WWE is still confident in a Finn Balor versus Damian Priest match, making it all the way to WrestleMania. Possibly round 2 will take place as Saturday night main event, with Finn Balor winning this one because of interference from Judgment Day. I don't feel that the WWE sufficiently learned from what went wrong with Jey Uso versus Jimmy Uso once again at WrestleMania. That did not hit the highlights that they were going for. It was not a popular choice and people weren't happy with it. So it's unfortunate and it's a bit depressing, but it does look like Finn Balor versus Damian Priest are on the way. Ooh, okay, I'm understanding the TikTok thing now. It's just said, get 2 more followers to get 1 Flair as live journey rewards. The Flair thing seems to be doing pretty well. I don't know how many followers I've got though. Maybe that is what it's based on. We'll see. If anyone joins in and decides to follow, that'd be great. Please consider it. The Sheamus story from here on out will revolve around the Intercontinental Championship. That will keep him comfortably at the level of mid-card as he transitions from a full-time wrestler to a focus on Celtic Warrior workouts. There are some concerns with him working too many dates due to his injury history, so instead of essentially putting him out to pasture, they want to feature him at the right moments, move him away at the right moments, and ensure that he is supported as he continues to push his own individual channels. The WWE does see the benefit of Celtic Warrior workouts. The WWE not only supports it but sponsors it and sees a direct benefit from it. So that is a plan for Sheamus. He will continue to chase the Intercontinental Championship and he will eventually get his moment. I suspect we may be heading into a Sheamus victory over Bron Breakker at WrestleMania. Jimmy Uso reacted to online criticism by attempting to add more strings to his bow. He's been working at the Performance Center a little more to enhance his overall repertoire. He's also been working directly with some of the newer members of the Bloodline, specifically Jacob Fatu. Jacob Fatu has apparently been inspiring both sides of the Bloodline to up their game and refine their talents. Jimmy Uso also broke his toe, so maybe he'll regret making that choice. The WWE are also said to be thrilled with Bronson Reed's work, though Bronson Reed is in danger of having broken his ankle. At this point in time, they're not entirely sure, but he will be checked when he gets to Raw tonight. He is being picked up and traversed. But they will just double check, make sure he's okay. I do believe we will see him tonight, but I don't necessarily think he'll be doing more than a backstage promo where he's maybe sat a bit down. So that is everything from Survivor Series. We still have plenty of news to come. We're going to be talking Big E on site tonight. We're going to be talking Wrestling Observer's coverage of the Jade Cargill injury. We're going to be talking Matt and Jeff Hardy. WWE Creative exploring a different use for Dakota Kai. We're going to be talking WWE inviting Vanessa Hudgens back, as well as a reset that is planned for Gunther ahead of the Royal Rumble. I will catch up with the chat now before we get to that. Where was I? Oh guys, you've really gone for it. Wow. No, I've not tried Kiwi Fanta. Interesting. Hector says if Cena does win, he'll join Stone Cold as the only 3-time winners in WWE history. Gotta say, no. I actually disagree with that because Stone Cold cheated for his first one and I refuse to acknowledge it. Sean says, who do you see winning the tag belts from Judgment Day? No one. I see them being forgotten entirely. Alyssa says, Seth Rollins need heel turn, do nothing as babyface. Sid says, who do you want to see first women's IC and US champ? I do think Chelsea Green is the right call for the United States Championship, for the Intercontinental. It's a difficult one. It really is. I suspect Raquel Rodriguez is going to be competing for it. I'll say that. Sean says, a friend of mine likes Blue Sky. His only complaint is that he can't send pictures or gifts in DMs. He will be able to soon. Liam says, can we expect Logan Paul at the Royal Rumble? Personally, I think so, though I can't guarantee anything. I've not heard anything about it. Rick says, I see Seth is fighting Sammy tonight. Is this the first tease of a heel turn? Depends how much Bloodline want to get involved. Blue says, I was so confused by some reactions to the women's Wargames. I thought it was pretty good. I feel like a lot of people online are always just looking for a chance to attack the women. Kai says, have you ever been a Nia Jax fan? A Nia Jax fan right now. Blue says, my bro and I popped hard for Nakamura's win, my favourite moment of the night. Liam says, Braun versus Sheamus versus Kaiser was an unbelievable match. Is the plan to have Sheamus dethrone Braun eventually? I've covered that one just a moment ago. KJ says, hopefully LA Knight wins Money in the Bank. Wargames says, does Shinsuke's upcoming Noah match play some part in him winning the title too? Quite possibly, it's a fair shout. Okay, Calvin, interesting. Dylan says, hi Tom, how do you feel about the network being shut down at the end of the month? I'm excited because I already have Netflix and I'm paying for the network, so I'd rather not. KJ says, hopefully Finn versus Priest will be better than the Usos. If it happens at Mania, maybe it'll be a cell match, which would be very similar, very reminiscent of Finn Balor versus Edge. Declan says, I hope Becky wins the Money in the Bank next year. Joey says, why isn't Vinci a part of the US title scene? Does WWE not know what to do with him? Yeah, they had a plan. Something seems to have gone wrong there, and I'm not really sure what to make of it. Blue says, thinking about Finn and Damien, perhaps Damien will be costing JD the tag titles as payback for them costing him his. That's at least my hope. Trekipedia says they did a good job of getting me to despise the character of Kaiser as a heel. I was not happy with the character after the interference a few weeks ago and him pulling the ref out. Good storytelling. Oh, I did not like the Oreo code, Calvin. Alex says, did you see CM Punk wanted muffins at the press conference and wasn't happy with what he got? Yeah, saw that. Enjoyed it. Liam says, Jacob in the Wargames match was unbelievable, especially that Punk spot. Unbelievable talent. Liam, Big E to my knowledge is not cleared. Sean, Big E to my knowledge is not cleared. It may have happened in the last few days, in which case my information is simply outdated, but I don't have any information on Big E's status. The last update I had was that he was not cleared. Alex says, I don't think the New Day breaks up tonight. I think Big E fixes everything. Razar says, I think people are being too harsh on the women's war games. It wasn't great, but it wasn't terrible. It was okay, and most important, no one got hurt. Mary says, does Solo bring up the idea that Roman only had a victory because he had Punk on Friday? Maybe, I don't know. It's up to him, really. Ken says, hey Tom, do you see WWE having Liv beat EO clean? No. Christopher Leclerc says, I don't think Chelsea Green to beat Bayley. I think it'll be Bayley versus Naomi. And Blue says that my money is on Bayley versus Naomi for the US title, leading to someone eventually turning heel. Liam says, can we expect the Demon back soon? No. Sid says, all I want to see is Natalya having a match, seeing I'm a fan of her. And also loves the Oreo Coke. And Joey says, do you see Kaiser getting a bigger singles push after his performance in the IC title match? I think that was his biggest singles push. Chris says, if it does go Gunther versus McIntyre, will Gunther be face or heel? More on that shortly. And Hector says, Bronson Reed jumping off the Wargame cell was hard to watch. There's a big man falling a long distance, and it looks like he got hurt. Not good. He'll probably not attempt that going forward. He 100% will. He's a wrestler. This is what they do. So, news. What I had to share, I was going to be reporting before PWInsider did, but PWInsider then put it out there. I was reporting on spoiler warning that Big E is on site for tonight's WWE Raw. I did mention on Friday that I expected him and that the WWE intended him to be there, but I was able to confirm it earlier today. PWInsider have now shared that information. I appreciate them confirming my report from Friday and getting that ball rolling there. The Wrestling Observer have also added more context to their reporting about Jade Cargill's injury. They not only stand by their reports, they have added that they have heard 3 different stories as regards Jade Cargill, 2 of which involve her being injured. The third one is basically them rumouring a political backstage issue that the injury is covering for. So I want to ask some questions and basically empower everyone here to engage in some wild speculation. What backstage political issue is Brian Alvarez of the Wrestling Observer putting forward that Jade Cargill could have? Is she Hulk Hogan? Because I don't think so. I don't think so. What possible political issue could the injury be covering for? It kind of feels like, to me, and once again, wild speculation, kind of feels to me like there's an implication that Jade Cargill isn't getting along with people, which we've heard that from Wrestling Observer before about good old CM Punk. Charles Minor Punk. interesting from Wrestling Observer. I never completely trust it. To clarify what I've already reported, to my knowledge, Jade Cargill is indeed injured, though it will be a relatively short-term injury. She'll be fine for a WrestleMania. I do not agree with PW Nexus's report that she could be out for up to a year. Hector says, I've already read that one actually. Sid says, who would you see face Cody for the title? Orton, definitely, but I think The Rock will get there first. Happy birthday, Dylan. Welcome. Calvin says, can you imagine a Hershey milk chocolate flavoured Coke? No, and I don't want to. Appreciate that, Unique Unicorn. Dylan did just say it's his birthday today. If you're able to, please remember to drop a happy birthday for Dylan. Blue says, Triple H is having so much fun messing with Dave. I do feel that's what's happening, yes. Trekipedia says, my New Year's hope is Dave Meltzer will learn to wait and make his stories factual. Good luck on that. Sid's excited to see no trolls in the chat. And Sean says, was AJ Styles' injury ever confirmed to be legit or storyline? It's not been confirmed one way or the other. WWE are clearly saying that it is legitimate. It's been interesting watching so many different sources be proven wrong on this subject with Jade Cargill. The AJ Styles injury. There's a lot going on at the minute, and I do feel like all the big ones have been proven wrong at some point over the last few weeks. It's interesting. Liam says, Colohue is my only source. Thank you kindly. Christopher says, both Bayley and Io Sky won their first women's Wargames match in their career on Saturday. Bayley says it could be as simple as WWE didn't feel Jade could handle some of the spots of the Wargames setup. Very true. And Blue says the only backstage issue I could actually see with Jade is some fretting over her lack of development while having a prominent spot. But I suspect it's just the Wrestling Observer being wrong for whatever reason. Shark Games says, if Alvarez wants to flippantly smear Jade's image, can you share some actual insight on how Jade is viewed backstage? She's viewed as raw and eager. The WWE are happy with her development so far, though there were some early concerns that she wasn't developing as quickly as they would like. What they're very happy with is her eagerness to learn. She's been working at the Performance Center with Bianca Belair pretty much non-stop, as well as others like Charlotte Flair. Jess says the only backstage issue I could see with Jade is that she's so beautiful it freaks everyone out. Coop43 says, is WWE happy with Candice LeRae's current run? Yes, they are. Razal says, what do you think about PWInsider saying Jade is not injured and it was 100% storyline? I'm so confused. The information that I have contradicts that. PWInsider, I think, have got this one wrong, personally. Declan says, people just want heat, which is bad and also sad. Rickon says, when can we see AJ Styles show up in TNA when he's not injured? Sid agrees he'd like to see AJ Styles return to TNA. Jess says, that's funny because didn't Jonathan Coachman say Jade and Bianca weren't getting along? He did. I don't think he's right. Again, I stand by it. In no way is that correct. Everything said by Jonathan Coachman seems to have been absolutely false. Patently. Blue says, I'm sure there are still backstage issues in the WWE, but the way nothing legit seems to leak anymore, it must be a lot happier there. It is. It very much is. And that's the main reason things aren't getting out in the same way. Wrestlers who don't have the same grievances aren't as willing to leak information. No one. Ring of Honor is AEW's Ring of Honor. Calvin says, teams, you see Survivor Series eventually having a 12-person match with 3 men and 3 women on both teams? Nope, don't know what you're talking about there. Sean says there was a legitimate fight at an American football game over the weekend. Saw it, loved it. Trekipedia says, not surprised Dave is so bitter. He won't let the Mania free attendance thing go. No one cares anymore, but it's like he's hanging on to it just because it gets him attention. Okay. Matt and Jeff Hardy are rumoured to have given up on waiting for a WWE deal to be offered to them, and thusly they've signed with TNA officially. The WWE were not interested in the Hardy Boys. When they left AEW, I reported at the time that the WWE were not interested, but TNA were. TNA is, of course, where the Hardy Boys have landed. They were working on a handshake deal while TNA tried to convince them to sign long term, but the Hardy Boys are said to believe that the WWE may well have come calling. That didn't happen. Jeff Hardy is said to have burned too many bridges to be trusted by the WWE at this point, so the WWE simply weren't interested. I can also state that the WWE creative team are currently exploring using Dakota Kai primarily as a manager rather than a wrestler, which will leave her with a lot less wrestling to do. Unfortunately for Damage Control, this is already largely the situation for Kairi Sane as well, plus Asuka. The WWE concerned that most of Damage Control is incredibly injury prone and are largely trying to push them to the background, which is one of the reasons Damage Control vanished for a while after WrestleMania as well. Io Sky is the only member of Damage Control which the WWE currently has full trust in, and this is why we're likely to see less of them over the next few months. So fun one there. I also want to take this opportunity to once again talk platforms. We're quite far into the show now, so I just want to talk about it. We are currently looking to diversify platforms. We peaked so far on YouTube at 93 viewers, which is very good considering the spread out that we're doing at the moment. Thank you very kindly. I'm also not advertising on Twitter because Twitter can go to hell. Basically, my focus isn't there anymore. I have transferred pretty much full-time over to Blue Sky now, where we currently have 857 followers. So we're just under 10% of the way to reaching the full amount of followers that I gained in about 10 years on Twitter. Reckon we're doing well, and we're going to keep going. If you've not followed yet on Blue Sky, and if you have Blue Sky, search at Colohue, Colohue, and you can find me there. We are also currently promoting TikTok, where I'm doing live spoiler warning shows as well. So Monday and Friday on TikTok, we are live for Spoiler Warning 2. Please do check that out if you have TikTok. We are looking to continue our growth, but it's one of those platforms where we are just starting something brand new. A lot of this is coming down to the engagement that you guys who've come over there are giving. 4,500 likes, for example, is absolutely the main reason that we're doing well over there. So I just want to say a massive thank you to everyone who's given me the time of day. I will continue to grow that platform as best I can, and you'll see more videos going live there over the next few weeks. So that may be something to interest you. Drive-by says, will we see Roman continually on TV in the run-up to January 6th Netflix, or do you think he'll have a break beforehand? I think he'll have a break beforehand because he'll be very busy afterwards. Declan just says, watch the pig. Trekipedia says, I just mean Dave hangs his hat on it and it always seems to be something he talks about. No, you're very, very true on that one. Mary says, what is next for the bloodline? Kind of more bloodline. It's awkward. Hector says, Jade is a generational talent. I think she's as happy as ever, but I'm not the Wrestling Observer. It's not news. Her work speaks for itself, and I hope she's back and better than ever once she's healthy. Sid says, do you think Joe Tessitore is WWE's best commentator? No. Calvin said Dakota is so amazing in the ring. I agree. And Alex says Dakota should win the IC title in my opinion. Ricky said, take care, Tom Buddy, and thank you for all the news. Have a good one and love you. Cheers, Ricky. Have a good day. Blue says, so happy to see you on Blue Sky, Tom. Yeah, I'm really quite enjoying it over there. I do feel like it's a platform that's working for me, and I don't have to niche down as much and just talk wrestling. I talked gaming. Yeah, imagine that. Trickipedia says, watch the pig, folks. Alex says, will Saturday night main event be on the network as a PLE here in the UK or TNT Sport? I don't know. Sean says, when do you see Pat coming back to WWE? I don't think Pat Patterson will ever return to the WWE. Sid says, what will happen to Joe Tessitore when Pat McAfee returns to WWE? Nothing. He will continue to be in his exact role. Blue says, who do you think is the best commentator? Corey Graves. Genuinely love his work. Trekipedia says, will Joe Tessitore be in WWE full-time once college football is over? Not sure, but he has a contract and I'd imagine he's sticking around. A lot of interest in Joe Tessitore all of a sudden. Calvin says, I'm a huge fan of mixed tag matches. They don't have them like they used to. True. And Jack Burton, and I know what Jack Burton always says, any update on Joe Hendry coming to NXT? There's interest from the WWE. Once his contract expires, but his contract at current is locked in tight with TNA. Blue says, I agree on Corey Tom. My second favourite overall, just behind Nigel in AEW. The WWE have invited Vanessa Hudgens back to the WWE in the near future in the hope of some sort of working partnership to get them on TV together. Vanessa Hudgens is also said to be angling to work with Rhea Ripley in some capacity. I don't know if everyone's read or heard the comments that she made, though I will say she might just want to work it for Rhea Ripley rather than work with Rhea Ripley. But to be fair, wouldn't we all? To be fair to Wikipedia, there's a guy called Jack Burton in the chat. Of course I'm going to make a Big Trouble in Little China reference. Of course I am. Finally, the WWE are currently planning a reset for the character of Gunther ahead of the Royal Rumble and WrestleMania, leaning into the possibility of him being neither face nor heel and more of a tweener in the same vibe of a Drew McIntyre, for example, where he's a understandable heel, where we're then open to the possibility of being cheered. The WWE are insistent on searching for new challenges for Gunther, believing that he's worked through pretty much everyone that they have, and that requires a new dynamic. The WWE are intentionally opening up Gunther to become undefined as face or heel, and that potentially opens the route to work with a Drew McIntyre at WrestleMania. So at the moment, anyone who's clarified as a heel or could be understood to be a heel cannot really work with Gunther. A change to that dynamic will make a big difference. Alex says, I'm a big fan of Vanessa Hudgens. She got a big pop from me when she appeared on TV. I'm all for her coming back. Sid says Saturday night's main event will be on WWE Network. Thank you, Sid. And Declan prefers JR and The King, but that's two commentators, so Declan is undecided. Ed says, I'm all for seeing Vanessa Hudgens and Rhea Ripley working together. Sean says, is Ethan Page a good shout for the men's Rumble match? Quite possibly, yes. He's had a very good year so far. For those that don't know, my favourite Vanessa Hudgens movie is Sucker Punch. I thought that was a really, really weird film. I like weird. Mary says, I love The Rock. Would rather have him put others over if he wrestles more. I'd rather see him in Hollywood. Yeah, Hollywood's not going great for him. And Calvin says, Vanessa's music is awesome too. That is going to be our show. We've had plenty of news to share, had plenty of views, and we hopefully have been able to share information that people really get excited about. We will be talking more about the Royal Rumble in the weeks to come as information is clarified, and I'll start putting a few videos on the YouTube to get that ball rolling. But until then, what I will say is that I've been Tom Colohue, you've been fantastic, and I'll see you all very soon.